Hey, it's close personal friend Lou Brutus, and this week on the world famous hard drive, my guests are going to include Spencer from Ice Nine Kills, Joe from Dead, and Troy Sanders of Mastodon. Now, if you like this video, remember to let us know by giving it a thumbs up. Also, subscribe, and you will be notified every time we drop something new on the channel. Right now, though, let's roll my interview with Spencer from Ice Nine Kills on the world famous hard drive. Welcome aboard. Hey there, it's your close personal friend Lou Brutus. Extremely pleased to be joined by Spencer of Ice Nine Kills. Spencer, how are you? It's good to see you.
I'm doing great, Lou. It's been a while since I've seen you, and I'm glad to be talking to you sort of on the eve of us getting back to playing shows. So glad to be here, my friend.
Yeah, you've got to be super excited. Although before we talk about anything important, tell me exactly where you are, because as you've been moving the camera around, it looks like your basement and it looks like there's all sorts of project-y things down there.
I don't know. I just actually woke up here about 10 minutes ago. I'm trying to figure out where I am. I might actually be in a real horror movie. I'm definitely handcuffed by my ankle. You can't see it to this post over here. So hopefully whose ever basement I'm in, they play nice. I guess we'll see.
Well, please just remember, put the lotion in the basket.
Yes, of course. Buffalo Bill practically raised me. So, I mean, we could go on talking about that all day.
Actually, you know, a quick aside, the house that was used for the killer in Silence of the Lambs, which is in Western Pennsylvania, not terribly far from Pittsburgh, had gone up for sale. And I half expected to have seen your name as the winning bidder for the place. Had you been aware of it? And if so, had you thought about trying to buy the joint?
Yeah, I lost out. I put in my bid pretty much as soon as I saw that. I've got my eyes on the Nightmare on Elm Street house. But honestly, one of my goals in life is to own a house from every single one of the movies that's my favorite. You know, the house from Halloween is right in West Hollywood. Like I just said, the house from Nightmare on Elm Street is just down the street from me in Hollywood. But yeah, I would love that to be something that I collect in my elder years. Houses where horrible things happen in cinema history.
Do you take advantage of when you're traveling and visit real life locations of films? One that I've always wanted to get to, that the house is gone from the movie, but the cemetery still looks exactly as it did back in the day for Night of the Living Dead.
No, I mean that's outside Pittsburgh, right?
Yeah, that's another one in Western Pennsylvania.
I've never been there. I've always wanted to go. I know the mall where they filmed Day of the Dead, I think, is in Monroeville, if memory serves. But I know that's like George Romero country. And I know they filmed a lot of those movies there. But that is one of my big hobbies. Whenever we go on the road, I try to see as many of those sites as I can. When we play Salt Lake City, we try to see a lot of the Michael Myers stuff because Halloween 4, 5, and 6 were all filmed in Salt Lake. Of course, like I said, in Hollywood, there's so many great locations from Nightmare on Elm Street, Halloween. But yeah, it's an exciting thing for me to be able to visit those locations in real life. You know, we've done performances in some of those locations, like the house from the ending scene of Scream. We actually performed in the garage where Rose McGowan's character gets crushed by the garage door. So we go pretty hard in terms of getting to those locations and putting the Ice Nine Kills fans there too, whether virtually or in person for a little acoustic set.
Of course, Maria Brinkov in this moment, you guys, an item, I guess, is the old time term for it.
Sure, yeah.
When you guys are like, just lying around the house, when you start to talk about music and art and things, I would imagine it's got to get pretty deep because, and I've said this to you before, I just adore the woman. I think she's incredibly smart and intelligent and hyper creative. And she loves animals too. So she's one of my favorite artists to sit down and do stuff with. But when you guys are there, for hours, months, days at a time, through the pandemic. What sorts of artistic things are coming out? What do you talk about?
Oh, we're always discussing music. Today we were discussing over lunch, we were discussing some of our early bands and the things that we got into and the different kind of eras of time that we went through, because we've both been in music for a while. Last night she was playing piano and I was playing guitar and working on a song for their set coming up. I won't disclose what song that is, but she's working on that kind of thing. I just kick it. We'll just pull out the acoustic. We'll start playing, I don't know, Wild Horses and sing together, or some Thrice or something fun and just sing together and play. Or she'll just be riffing on her piano for an hour. I'll just hang out and just, listen to her and bounce ideas off of each other for things. And it's pretty nonstop creative talks. And especially her, like you said, her visual ideas, she's just always coming up with visual stuff all the time, bouncing it off me, and it's always great. Like, she never comes up with anything that's not worthwhile. She's just a real talented, amazing person. She's just, she blows me away.
Yeah, she's really cool. I think the world of her. Now, you yourself, do you have other artistic endeavors that you like to get involved in? Because there are so many people I've spoken through the years, and music's their main thing. But a lot of people, even if they don't do it to be famous, they just do it for themselves. They do painting or photography. What about you?
Well, I am just very enveloped in music. But I got into over the pandemic, call it the break, but yeah, over the pandemic, I got into design. Same thing, Maria, I got into that as well. We got into a lot of design with Procreate and Photoshop. I started a t-shirt line called Neon God, just like something I wanted to do while I had time to. I've always been a big fan of t-shirts. I collect vintage shirts and stuff like that. So I wanted to put out some stuff that was just whatever, just like culture vibe, things that I was into. So that was really fun. And I designed a little bit of In This Moment's merch for some of their stuff coming up. And I helped edit her video. So, there's all kinds of things that we do just to be creative. And I really dove into the guitar again, which I hadn't done in a long time, but a lot more like acoustic singer-songwriter stuff. I learned a lot more chords and things. In Dead and a lot of my other bands, it's always like drop A or, drop whatever.
Yeah.
It's super heavy.
Nasty chords.
Yeah, exactly. Just like dirty stuff. And so I was learning like some Dylan and some CCR and Petty and stuff like that, like the singer-songwriter stuff. And I really had a lot of time to really sit back and get into the guitar and learn that side of things. And I really enjoyed it. I've really had a lot of fun with that over this break, and something I hope I continue to expand on.
Have you ever seen Bob Dylan live? Because I always tell the listeners, like, you've got to go see these great classic rockers while you still can. Time is running out. You have to see Bob Dylan, but I warn them, you're going to hate him. You're going to hate every second of it, but go see it anyway. Have you seen Dylan live?
I've never had. Why would I hate it? But I never have seen him live. No.
Well, he always has great bands with him, but there are two things that he does that most people don't like. One is, of course, is the extent of the vocals.
Okay.
But he also changes the songs up. I think he never, because he's Dylan, he doesn't explain it.
Mm-hmm.
The guess is he doesn't want people to sing along, so he changes the arrangements of his hits. So he's halfway through Like a Rolling Stone, and you don't even realize what the fuck he's singing.
Yeah.
It's like, what song is this? Oh, it's Like a Rolling Stone. It's over, and you haven't even enjoyed it.
Right. Well, he is as punk rock as it gets. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
His mentality and everything. So I don't blame him. I'm not surprised, nor do I blame him for doing that. And I actually enjoy that when I go see a band live, when they take liberties and, the vocalist just throws in some random stuff, or the drummer goes crazy, whatever it is. Like, I'm a fan of that. That's especially live. That's a moment that is happening just for you and those people in that room or in that space, and it'll never be duplicated the same. And so there's something really cool about that. I try to do that a little bit here and there. And I try to do it honestly, unconsciously, where it's just, I'm feeling whatever I'm feeling and just go with it, but, I think it's a cool thing, man. And I love that. I should check out Dylan while I can. That would be something really amazing.
So, one of the, we'll call it a good problem with any album, but in particular with this record, is you've got a massive amount of great songs, and then comes the all right, what are we gonna present as a single or a song from radio, and then that whole thing starts again. Tell me about the process to get a Tear Drinker up front.
Well, after a 4+ year hiatus of releasing a new album, we put out the song Pushing the Tides a few weeks ago. That
Yeah,
felt
and
like,
that was like the fan track. I was going to get to that one next.
Sure,
Yeah,
sure.
Let's start with that one though, if you like. Go ahead.
Yeah, it was like, well, for the people that care about us and follow us, let's give them some. We didn't want to put the heaviest track out first. We didn't want to put the catchiest track out first. And we didn't want to put the weirdest song out first. Let's ease back into this. And Pushing the Tides, it's a borderline ripper. It's a meat and potatoes heavy Mastodon song, clocking in at 3.5 minutes. It grabs you right in with the first riff. It's got a great chorus, short and sweet and to the point. I felt like, not the safe way, but just a good appetizer for the main course to come.
And by the way, you hit on something really important that happens behind the scenes, and certainly some fans are going to be aware of the sort of politics involved in this thing. The order of tracks being released, which is very separate of the order of tracks that go on an album. That stuff, that's sometimes where bands want to strangle one another, or at least come to loggers to get.
True. The four of us were, although our label of Warner Brothers, over 15 years or so, they've been fantastic, and they kind of put the ball in our court. Like, this is what we would like to do. What would you guys like to do? The four of us, we listen to them because that's, should be their field of expertise. But we also know what we would like for our fans to hear first. So thankfully, it was a quite easy process of what we were going to put out here: song 1, song 2, and song 3. Just like we would kind of go back and forth with how we sequence an album. We just talk to one another and express why I think it should be this way and why do you think different. And it's a respectable conversation that we have internally as with our label. So thankfully, there's no butting of heads like that I could see it being a very easy problem to have with other bands, perhaps.
Well, with Hushed and Grim in mind, and maybe if you can expand a little bit more on the sequencing of the record, what are the sorts of things that you yourself as a band member listen for and wish for the sequencing of a record? And do you often change your mind? Do you live with the tracks for a few months and think, well, it should be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and on, and then a month later you're thinking, well, it would work better this way? Kind of put everybody else in your shoes, if you would.
Yeah, that's how we do it. Once we have songs, mixed and ready to go, we kind of, we just kind of dive into the emotion of each song, because we're always thinking with the bigger picture is we want, in a perfect world, we would like this to be digested or ingested from start to bottom. And because we all grew up in the 70s and 80s with our favorite albums, we always put pride into creating, the entire full art of the album. That's very important to us. So, besides having the artwork, mirror the emotion that we feel should be with the record, we always want to have the lyrics printed in, on the insert sheet with liner notes, and completely, we want the fan to be immersed as we were with our favorite albums, sitting down, looking at the artwork, listening to the songs, reading the lyrics. It becomes your world for 60, 70, 80 minutes, whatever. So with that in mind, we just think of what could be the best ride to take from start to finish. What would be, have the nice ebb and flow. How do we space out the softer songs? How do we space out what we feel are the strongest songs overall, like a complete Mastodon song? So yeah, it kind of goes back and forth for a long time. And it could be interchangeable and still have a very similar impact, but we just kind of collectively agree on what we feel is the best sequencing, thinking of if someone's listening from the first note to the last note. And again, we all have a lot of courtesy and respect for one another, that once we get it to a point and someone says, that's awesome, I love the way that plays, I listened to it from start to finish, that's great, I'd love it to be represented like that, say, okay, get to a point where like, that's cool. Sounds good.
You know, that was the other thing. Not that musically, it sounds like an album like, you know, Tales from Topographical Oceans from Yes, but in its breadth of the wideness of the genres in it, and the sounds and the length, it really feels like an epic album from back in the day, and I mean that as the highest possible compliment.
That's wonderful to hear, man. I outside of just a couple people in my small circle of true friends, I'm excited to start to get feedback, you know, and so thank you for that. I know you wouldn't say it if you didn't feel that way, because once, I've always said this, we've always been very authentic within ourselves when we write music and create songs and ultimately create albums. And when we leave the practice space and we wrote a song, or if we leave the studio session after 6 weeks after writing an album, we're high-fiving, we're hugging, we're proud of it, we love it. That's what's in our control. Once it's pressed and released to the world, it's out of our control. Do we want people around the globe to embrace it and love it? Absolutely. Do we expect people to embrace it and love it? Absolutely not. So it's, you know, we kind of remain almost too ground. Our hopes are, we keep them pretty low just for the sake of, what's the word? I don't know. When we get any accolades or praise or good words from people that we respect and trust, it feels great. You know, it's a nice reward when someone compliments your artwork.
Excellent. Okay. Yeah, no, that makes sense. I get
okay.
that. Yeah. And I want to come back to, if you can give me some specific thoughts on Tear Drinker.
Sure. I would say that's the most accessible song that we have. And we tend over the, I've been questioned before, been asked the question before, like, do you guys purposely put a song on each album that has a radio vibe, like a active rock radio vibe to it? And because we basically have one song like that on the past like 5 records, maybe 6 records. And I didn't really recognize that until I counted each album, and I was like, we do. But no, we never speak of anything before a writing session of like, you know, we need a couple long epic songs, we need a couple short and sweet songs, we need some old school heavy songs. Like, we don't talk about that at all. It always happens when someone brings in an idea, we all dig in on it, and we start to just vibe away at it. That's how we've always done it, and that's how we still do it. So it's funny how we always have this one super catchy, you know, active rock radio accessible song, and that's what Tear Drinker is.
See, I never saw, and I know exactly what you're talking about with the songs over the last several records. Yeah. And I never thought of it as you guys being clinical. It just seemed to me it was like you would look at the collection of tunes that you had at the end of your sessions and just go, fuck it, what's the one that's going to sound best out of the radio on this? And that's the one that ends up, you know, all right, you're going out first, out the door, here we go.
Right. But if we ever do, you know, we've done, you know, 13-minute super proggy bizarre songs in our past, and we've done the 3.5-minute super catchy verse chorus solo chorus out, the most traditional, you know, songcraft that there ever is or ever was. So, but if we do it, we're doing it because we dig it and we love it. It's that simple. Tear Drinker kind of came out super catchy. The guitar part was like, oh man, Braun and I worked on that. We found this cool vocal pattern that's simple. It's easy to dig into, sing along. We love melody. We want catchiness if we can find it, and it feels good. And that's what Tear Drinker became. And then we had, towards the end of the song, we had these 2 bridges where we were going to decide which one is better to put a guitar solo on top of. But I liked both parts, and I was like, and jokingly in the studio listening back, I said, why don't we keep them both for now? Because I'll just play a bass solo on the first half, and then the second half, one of you guys can do a guitar solo. We kind of giggled and left. Well, the next day I came in early with our engineer, and I said, let me work on and track what could be a cool bass solo. And I did that. And then when the other guys showed up, I said, hey, I did the bass solo idea. And they said, okay, sure. And I said, no, really, do you want to hear it? And then we played it. And it was so funny because it sparked their ears, because we've never done anything like that ever.
Yeah.
And then once Brent put a rough guitar solo on the second piece, just to see if it would even work or if it was just ridiculous or not.
Right.
It turned out that we're like, I like this. Do you like? We all liked it, and it sounds like something, it is something that we've never done in the past 100 songs that we've written in our career. So, you know, that was kind of what started as a ridiculous joke, wound up, you know, ended up becoming a really, you know, cool little moment on a giant record, it became a really cool small moment on a very, you know, on a much bigger record. So I love stuff like that, you know, when we joke around and someone takes it serious and does it and it works.
Out of strangeness comes great art.
It can. And I love moments like that because no one was like, no, we can't do that. It's too long. And there shouldn't be a bass solo and then a guitar solo. Like, our band is so simple when it's like little kids, like everybody likes it. Cool. That's what we're doing. You know, does everyone want some ice cream and go for a tricycle ride down the street? Yes. Okay. It's like a puppy dog. You want to go for a walk? Of course he does. That's the way my band still works. You know, we've always claimed that we're still part caveman, you know, we still have a bit of prehistoric in us. But I don't know, it's just small moments like that were really funny to me.